It was supposed to be a day of joy, a day when love triumphed over doubt, and families came together to celebrate a union. But sometimes, beneath the surface of glittering decorations and smiling faces, secrets lurk, secrets that, when revealed, can shatter everything. In this story, a wedding planner, someone meant to design beauty and perfection, became the centerpiece of a shocking courtroom drama that no one saw coming. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the most dramatic, real-life twists that keep you on the edge of your seat. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and join us for powerful stories like this one every day. Now, let's step into the tale of a wedding that began with flowers and music, but ended with gasps in the courtroom. The couple at the center of it all was glamorous and influential, known in their community for wealth and power. Their wedding was destined to be the kind of event people whispered about for years, and at the helm of it all was their trusted wedding planner, an elegant, detail-obsessed professional who knew how to turn dreams into reality. She was the one who handled every detail: the rare flowers, the handcrafted invitations, the towering cake that seemed almost too perfect to cut. But what no one knew was that behind her polished smile, she carried a secret that linked her not only to the wedding, but also to the private lives of the bride and groom in ways that would soon explode under oath. As the ceremony approached, tensions between the couple simmered. The groom, charming but arrogant, had been hiding financial troubles, while the bride carried doubts about his honesty. Friends whispered, families worried. And in the middle of it all, the wedding planner quietly observed, holding more information than she ever should have. Months later, when the marriage began to crumble, accusations of betrayal, fraud, and manipulation filled the air. Lawyers sharpened their strategies. Witnesses lined up. And then, to everyone's surprise, the one person called to testify was not a family member or business associate. It was the wedding planner. What could she possibly reveal that mattered so much? Why did the attorneys insist on her testimony? As she walked to the stand, the courtroom fell silent. Cameras clicked. The air tightened with anticipation. And then, with a calm yet piercing voice, she began to speak. What she said not only revealed shocking truths about the wedding, but also about what had been happening behind closed doors in the months before and after. The judge leaned forward. Jurors stared in disbelief, and both the bride and groom shifted uncomfortably as their carefully crafted images began to crack under the weight of the wedding planner's words. This wasn't just about centerpieces and seating charts anymore. This was about lies, greed, betrayal, and the unexpected role of someone hired simply to make a wedding beautiful. But what exactly did she say that turned the courtroom upside down? And why did her testimony hold so much power over the case? The answers would come next, and they would leave everyone, including the jury, speechless. The courtroom was hushed as the wedding planner adjusted the microphone. Her eyes scanned the room. The attorneys, the jury, the former bride and groom, glaring at each other from across the aisle. For a moment, it seemed like she hesitated, as though weighing the consequences of every word she was about to speak. And then she began. She explained how her job had started out as it always did, planning a dream wedding, dealing with stressed families, and keeping the bride calm under pressure. But she quickly noticed things that troubled her: late-night calls, secret meetings, and whispered arguments between the couple when they thought no one was listening. The planner wasn't just arranging flowers and music, she was watching a marriage unravel before it even began. She recalled one night when the groom demanded changes to the wedding budget. He insisted on cutting corners on small details, despite having promised extravagance. When the bride questioned him, his anger flared. According to the planner, he grabbed her arm and hissed something no guest ever knew about. It was a moment that made her stomach turn, but she stayed silent. After all, it wasn't her place. Or so she thought. But as the planner continued her testimony, she revealed something no one had expected. The groom had been funneling money from the wedding budget into a private account. Money that was supposed to go toward the celebration. Money given by both families was being quietly siphoned away. She had the invoices. She had the receipts. She had seen the transfers. The courtroom gasped. The bride's attorney quickly asked the planner to explain, and she laid it all out. The secret bank account, the financial manipulations, and the way the groom had instructed her to make it look like everything matched up. But the drama didn't stop there. When asked why she hadn't spoken up sooner, the wedding planner's voice cracked slightly. She admitted she was afraid of losing her business, afraid of being sued, and afraid of becoming entangled in a scandal that could ruin her reputation. But once the divorce case turned into a courtroom battle, subpoenas forced her to come clean. The groom's lawyer tried to tear her apart on cross-examination. They accused her of exaggerating, of twisting details, of being biased in favor of the bride. But the planner remained calm. Piece by piece, she presented documented evidence, receipts with altered amounts, contracts with suspicious notes, and even text messages from the groom telling her to keep quiet. The jury shifted in their seats, the bride's eyes filled with tears. The groom's confident smirk faded as the weight of the testimony crushed his defense. And yet, this was only the beginning, because as powerful as her financial revelations were, the planner had one more bombshell to drop. A truth that would not only question the groom's character, but would also reveal something so personal, so shocking, that it would leave everyone in the room reeling. The attorney leaned closer to the witness stand and asked, "And what else did you discover?" The planner took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the jury. The silence was unbearable, as if the entire courtroom was holding its breath. Her next words would ignite chaos. The wedding planner's lips parted, and the tension in the courtroom grew unbearable. Everyone leaned forward, desperate to hear the secret she had carried for so long. Her voice trembled at first, but then grew steady, like someone who knew the truth could no longer stay buried. She revealed that in the weeks leading up to the wedding, she had stumbled upon something entirely unexpected. Late one evening, while finalizing seating charts in the groom's office, she noticed a stack of photographs tucked away in a folder. At first, she assumed they were family pictures, perhaps old memories, but when she looked closer, her hands went cold. The photographs showed the groom, hand in hand with another woman. These weren't old photos, they were recent. Dates on receipts and timestamps on messages confirmed that while he was planning his wedding, he was secretly living another life. The courtroom erupted in gasps. The bride buried her face in her hands, trembling as her attorney tried to calm her. The groom shifted angrily in his chair, whispering fiercely to his lawyer, but the damage was done. The planner explained that she had considered destroying the evidence. She didn't want to ruin a wedding, didn't want to be the bearer of such devastating news, but when she was later subpoenaed, the truth became unavoidable. She brought everything, photos, receipts, even hotel confirmations that matched the groom's timeline. The judge had to call for order, as whispers filled the air. The groom's attorney tried again to discredit her, claiming the photos were misleading, that the woman was just an old friend. But the planner didn't stop there. She revealed that the woman had actually attended the wedding, posing as a distant cousin seated among the guests, smiling as vows were exchanged. The bride lifted her head, eyes burning with betrayal. "She was there," she whispered, barely audible, but the planner nodded solemnly. The jury's faces hardened. Betrayal wasn't just financial, it was personal, visceral. The image of a groom walking down the aisle, while secretly entwined with another woman, shook everyone to the core. But just as the courtroom thought they had heard it all, the planner leaned forward again and said, "There's more." Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. She recounted how, on the morning of the wedding, she overheard a hushed phone call. The groom's voice was low, urgent, but clear enough for her to make out the words, "Don't worry. After today, everything will be in my name. She won't suspect a thing." The implication was chilling. The marriage wasn't about love. It was about power, money, and control. To the bride, it had been a dream. To the groom, it had been a calculated move. The bride's attorney seized the moment, asking the planner to repeat the statement slowly for the jury. Each word landed heavy in the room, dripping with deceit. The groom's defense was unraveling, thread by thread. But the planner wasn't done. With a trembling hand, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small, black notebook, one she had kept throughout the wedding preparations. In it were notes, dates, and details she had carefully recorded, not knowing how important they would become. "This," she said, placing it firmly on the stand, "is everything I witnessed. Every lie, every misstep, every secret." The courtroom froze. That notebook, sitting there under the fluorescent lights, held the power to destroy what little credibility the groom still had left. And in that moment, everyone knew the real story of this marriage had only just begun. The silence in the courtroom was deafening as the judge permitted the notebook to be entered into evidence. Page after page revealed a carefully documented account of everything the wedding planner had seen and heard: strange conversations, secret phone calls, suspicious receipts, and even the moment the groom slipped away during his own rehearsal dinner. The groom's attorney tried to argue, but the weight of the evidence was undeniable. The jury wasn't just hearing words anymore, they were seeing patterns, motives, and a plan that stretched back months. Each detail painted a picture of manipulation, betrayal, and greed. The bride sat frozen, tears streaking her face. This wasn't just about a failed marriage anymore. This was about trust so deeply shattered that it cut through every memory of their wedding day. The veil, the vows, the photographs, all of it suddenly felt like props in a carefully orchestrated lie. Then came the turning point. The planner read aloud from one of her notes. He said, "Once the papers are signed, the assets are as good as mine." Those words struck like a hammer blow. The jury's expressions hardened, and the groom dropped his head, no longer able to look anyone in the eye. The judge addressed the courtroom, reminding everyone that the case was about truth and justice, not theatrics. But even the judge couldn't hide the stern disapproval in his voice. It was clear that the groom's credibility had collapsed entirely. When closing arguments began, the bride's attorney spoke with measured power. This marriage was built on lies. The very day she thought she was gaining a partner, he was plotting to take everything. This isn't love. This is betrayal dressed as devotion. The groom's defense stumbled, their arguments thin and desperate. By the time the jury was dismissed to deliberate, the outcome felt inevitable. Hours later, they returned with their decision, unanimous. The courtroom held its breath, as the verdict was read. The groom had lost not only the case, but his reputation, his leverage, and the trust of everyone who once stood by him. Justice had been served, not just for the bride, but for every person who had ever been deceived by appearances. The bride exhaled a long, shaky breath. Though her heart still ached, she knew one thing with certainty. The truth had finally spoken louder than the lies. And as the gavel fell, the lesson was clear. Secrets can only stay hidden for so long. Eventually, the truth finds a voice, even if it comes from the most unexpected witness. Friends, if you've been with us through this story, let it remind you of something powerful. Appearance